welcome back to Fresh Tracks. I'm Kathryn Saari, sitting here today with David Justice and Christy Smith, the co-founders of Discovering Deaf Worlds. Now, you've been on an interesting adventure, an amazing adventure as far as I'm concerned. You have traveled the world to explore the developing countries and the developed countries and their systems and programs for deaf people around the world. And you found out some really interesting things. And so tell me a little bit about your organization and when it started and what your goals were and what your whole point is.
Okay, well, we started this about 2.5 years ago, and the idea being we don't know what's happening in the deaf communities in other countries. They don't speak English, they don't use English, or maybe they don't have websites. They're hard to find out what's happening, so we physically had to go out there. And what we learned is a lot of deaf people, 80% of deaf people in developing countries have no education at all. So when we first left, I think we were a little naive, thinking we were going to make an entertaining film about sign languages around the world because they're different in every country. But really what we found out was a deeper issue. So now our goal has become helping those countries expand their programs to give access to language and education to deaf people in developing countries.
And what I really liked about, we talked about it inside for a while, is that you're not just going in and taking over and setting things up. You're learning about how they're doing it, if there are any programs in place, if there's anything going on, you're communicating with them and trying to work with them to better reach the deaf communities. And there's some really sad things that you discovered on your trip, like in India, children that are born with disabilities sometimes are just tossed and left at the Calcutta train station.
Right.
So talk about what you worked on a project in India as well. It's Discovering
Shuktara.
Discovering Shuktara.
Shuktara.
Tell us a little bit about what that's all about. And it's in post-production right now, so it should be coming out at some point. But tell us a little bit about that.
This film is about just a home where this guy from England started this home where they take deaf children or kids with disabilities who are left on the street. So you imagine you have a 7-year-old daughter and you just abandon her because she's deaf, and she's living on the streets, catching rats, cooking rats, trying to survive. And then here is this wonderful man who comes in, takes them in, and brings them home. And what's really cool about this place is they create their own sign language, their own way of communicating. So what we want to do is be able to go in there and provide language development, teachers, so they can help expanding education-wise to make them get out of their home and communicate on a regular level. So we're making a film about this home, and it's beautiful, it's coming together, and we're still we're getting there. And I think it's, go ahead.
Really, it's just a challenge, just understanding the whole global issue of poverty in India, because the concept there is if we're poor, we're living on $1 or less a day, literally, and we have 2 kids, and one's a male and one's a female, or we're going to send the boy to school before the girl. It's just, there's that gender stereotype. But then if we have a kid that has any kind of disability or is deaf, it's just, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? They see that as such a burden that often what happens is they get abandoned, or they'll go to this train station in Kolkata, which is one of the biggest cities in India, and it's just a really transient place, and they just get lost. Maybe a kid is on a train with his mom and he falls asleep when he wakes up, he's alone. And so this home that we found is there's 18 kids living there. Some of them have been there for the last 10 years. And it's amazing to see how the older kids now take in the newer kids and help them make sure they go to school and stay focused. And but our role with that eventually would be just kind of spreading awareness on what's happening with this organization, but also helping them better communicate with people outside of their home. Because like Christy said, they develop their own sign language, so they communicate great with each other. But even with deaf people in India outside of their home, it's a different language.
One of the things, so I want to let everyone know, because this is really important. You can go to discoveringdeafworlds.com.
Right.
Now you really rely a lot on people's donations and being aware. So definitely check out their website. It's some good stuff. And
we started this organization about 2.5 years ago, and we've raised over $40,000 for the different projects that we're running. And most of that has come from accumulation of $100 donations.
That's incredible. And you know what? There's always more to be had. And it sounds like I think the documentaries are going to be touching. You're going to start focusing, hopefully, is the goal, on each individual country. Well, both of you, discoveringdeafworlds.com. Check it out, folks. It was such a pleasure to have you here today. We are